Hey y'all, hey, good morning and welcome to another session of Meditations with Marigny. So, I'm gonna hop on right quick and I want to talk about training up our children. Something happened with my younger son and I this morning, and some things have been transpiring with my children and me because I think that in this day and time, many people are trying to be their children's friends versus being their parents. And I'm gonna tell you about something that happened with my son and I. And I'm gonna read a scripture first. And I guess this morning I just jumped right in because I plan to make this video kind of short. I hope for it to be short and impactful versus maybe long and somewhat impactful, if that makes sense. But it's a very familiar scripture out of Proverbs, the 22nd chapter. And I'm actually going to read the first verse because when I started reading it, sometimes when I'm looking for a specific scripture, I'll go back and read the whole chapter. And this particular chapter is coming from the book of wisdom, what most people call the book of wisdom. And I just thought that it was interesting. The very first verse in the 22nd chapter says, "A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold." And then verse 2 says, "The rich and poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all." I just thought those two verses were interesting. You might want to go back and read them yourself. But verse number 6 is where I want to focus in this morning. It says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." And verse 7 says, "The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is the servant to the lender." And I mainly want to key in for this particular video on train up a child in the way that they should go. When they're old, they will not depart from it. The information that you all are getting from me on this channel right now is the training that I received as a child. I remember going to church, and I'm not saying that church is the pathway for everybody. I'm saying that this is what my experience was. For me, church was an outlet where I made friends. It was a place where I found myself. It was a place that poured into me. So my experience with the church was not, in many ways, the negative one that some other people may have experienced. I really resonated with the word at a very early age. And I don't know whether that was because of where I was when my mother was carrying me. I do feel that what a mother is feeling and how she develops while that child is growing within her has a lot to do with the outcome of that child itself. And that's not something scientific. That's just something that I just personally believe. I made sure I was very intentional when I was carrying my boys, that I was calm and, I had a good peaceful place, and that I kept my mental capacity intact. And, I had very healthy pregnancies both times. And so when I think about this scripture, something happened with my 16-year-old. You guys know, on yesterday I was picking him up and he was getting ready to drive, and we talked. And parenting now with young men and teenagers is different. Like, I'm no longer in that place where I'm just, do this, do that, do this, do that. I am now filtering things to them to say, what do you think about this? How do you feel about this? Because I want to provoke thought processes in them. And this morning when we got up at the beginning of this month, because at the beginning of this month I purchased him a card for the train. And so this morning when we got ready to go, typically I've been letting him drive in the mornings because I want him to get used to the morning traffic and what that's like. And this morning, I just said I'll drive because we were already kind of running a little bit. And so I asked him about his card. And he just kind of nonchalantly said, I don't really know where the card is at. Which means that I paid for a monthly card, and yesterday that means that he paid out of pocket to ride the train. And I had to have a conversation with him about, it's your responsibility to keep up with that card. Like, you only have one or two jobs. You don't have a main job right now. Yes, he works his little part-time job where he's making his little money and he's contributing to some of his baseball responsibilities. But at the end of the day, no, you can't nonchalantly just say that I lost the card or I don't know where it's at. That card was the purpose of that card was so that you can move and get around, in order that we don't have to now spend additional funds. And many parents would not want to have that conversation with their children because they want to be friends with their kids. As a parent, you are responsible for assuring that this child gets the impartation that they need in order to become a valuable part of society. Now, I'm not saying that you got to have a religious background or you have to, have any type of connection with anything spiritual. I believe, my personal belief is that you're going to need that. There is no way to be a positive influence to your kids if you don't have something that has you grounded, something that gives you a foundation. And that's because they are going to test you. They're supposed to do that. That's their job. But as the parent, you are supposed to make the decision that you are going to parent them. You are going to train them up in the way that they should go. And when they are old, they will not depart from it. And so, as we just celebrated Mother's Day, one of the things that I shared with my sons is that I am empowering them to make decisions later on. And the decision about his card flowed over into us about some concerns that he had with some grades. During the baseball season, if you have a child that's in sports, I will be honest with you, as a parent and as an educator, it is difficult for that child to keep up, because everything is so fast-paced. They are moving, they're on the go, they're in practices. And so at the end of the year, when things have slowed down or after their season is over, I always work with my students to make sure that they got caught up. And because I know that my son has an exceptionality, I understand that he operates better from a checklist. He can operate better instead of you just saying, go out there and check your Infinite Campus and see what's missing. He operates better if I give him a list. And I could have depended on his teacher to do that, but most teachers are not going to take the time to do that. People wondered why I had so much success in my classroom, and it's because I gave my students the tools to be able to be successful. I engulfed them in an environment that no matter what was going on around us, I gave them the tools that would help them to be successful in my classroom. And one of the things I explained to my son is that I gave you the tools. Now, I can't take the hammer out and I'm going to nail the item to the whatever it is that we're working on. I'm not going to take the screwdriver out. I gave you the tools, and now it's up to you to take those tools and use them. And I want to speak to, these cell phones. Parents are walking around paying cell phone bills, and they are in a position where children are not doing what they're supposed to do. I had to take his cell phone the other day, and I didn't go into no argument. I didn't get into no debate with him, because I'm not going to do that. First of all, that's really not my personality trait. And once I done said something to you 2 or 3 times, I gave you a warning. I gave you the opportunity to correct it. You didn't do it. There's a consequence. And people need to be more intentional with doing that. My channel is talking about relationships, and that is why in so many cases we have adults who do not follow the rules because they have been given opportunity and opportunity and opportunity, and there was no consequence that went along with that. I'm going to let that sit right there for a minute. So in the end, what we are doing when we don't train our children is we are teaching them that they do not have to follow the policies, the rules. They don't have to follow any type of ethical standard, and they don't have to follow because there is no consequence. Most recently, how can I say this? I want to make sure I keep things private. Most recently, at a high school event, when the event was over, a parent made a decision to approach a child to confront the child about something that was going on with their child. And the parent went on to provoke a physical altercation between them and a child that then disrupted into an event that included multiple children from that school. The consequence for those actions was that that parent and those children could not participate in graduation activities. Now, somebody gonna say, well, the parent should have did this, the parent should have did that, da 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 da. If things had remained possibly between that parent and that student, then possibly the other students could have been given a waiver to say, or if they had stepped in and say that we're going to help to discontinue this or to diffuse this situation, but we're not going to add to or contribute to it. And what I'm saying to you is those very parents, some of them are saying, well, my child just stepped in because this was happening. Yes, but they should not have stepped in to contribute to that. If they had stepped in to break it up or move people or just make people move to a different area or whatever, that would have been different. But in the end, guys, we are teaching our children how they are to respond to life lessons. If the speed limit is 55 and I'm going 75 and the police pull me over and they say you going 75, I was in the wrong. It don't matter that that's the flow of traffic. It doesn't matter that that's what everybody else was doing. Everybody else was doing it, but the police clocked you. So you are responsible for that, not the popo. So at the end of the day, we must continue to remember, and I can only say for me, for those that are following me, watching my channel, I am talking about biblical principles. The basics, like these are the basic biblical principles. This is just 101. Just, 101. This at the very bottom. And the thing for me is we must know that we are not supposed to be our children's friend. We can be friendly. I am friendly with my children. But the other day when he didn't do what I asked him to do, I didn't say nothing. I said, hey, come here right quick. I knew he was going to have the phone in his hand. And he came with the phone in his hand. The things that I had asked him to do were still not done. And I just put my hand out and I said, let me have the phone, please. He put the phone in my hand and I put it in my pocket and I went right on, continued cleaning the kitchen and doing what I'm doing. Because I'm not going to argue with you about something that I provide a service for. I'm not going to ask you to do small things like pick up after yourself. I'm not even asking you to clean up behind me. I'm saying clean up behind yourself. And I'm not going to go and clean it up. I want it put back just like I put it before you came in here. Before you came in here, the sofa, the pillows were all neatly done. I had stacked everything up. All the blankets were folded up in their nice little place. There were no water bottles laying around. If I went and bought the water, you mean to tell me that when you drink it, you can't at least pick the water bottle up and throw it in the trash can? I worked for the water company for many, many years, so I have my own mindset about bottled water anyway. A lot of y'all think that there's something wrong with the tap water, but you might want to be more in tune with what's going on with the bottled water that you have. That's just a nugget. That was a sidebar. So I don't have a problem with the tap water because tap water is regulated. Just so you all will know. That bottled water is not. So at the end of the day, you would be surprised based on what you think you're buying in the bottle versus what you're actually getting out the tap. Do some research on it if you think that I'm not telling you the truth. There are a couple of videos out there that give you a whole good breakdown. There's one guy that does a testing out of New York, and I think it would be really good. But that was your sidebar for today. Y'all know sometimes I get off task. And so I just really wanted to talk about the fact that it is our responsibility to train up our children in the way that they should go. And that don't mean that you got to be mean. Sometimes people think that that means that that's putting hands on kids or beating them all the time. Like, I'm beyond that. I spanked my kids when they were younger. Yes, I popped their little legs or popped their butts. And, you know, every now and then I had to pull the belt out, because as a single mother, most of their life, it was a difficult task to conform with. But at the end of the day, my kids are no different from anybody else's kids. They're the typical children in a household. I don't know any household that got teenage boys in there that they're not eating them out of house and home. They're not eating up everything. They're not laying around lounging. They leaving their clothes somewhere. So you got to keep doing that. You got to keep talking about it. You have to keep putting those practices in place. And then also, you know, you have to hold them responsible. So one of the conversations that he and I had, he got his phone back, because I really do need him to have that phone. We need it now for communications, for me to be able to pick him up and drop him off. But I told him today, if you don't follow the instructions of what I've given you to do, you're going to lose that phone, and you're going to need to call me before you get to the school, before you leave the school, so I can know about what time that you're going to be getting on the train, and you're going to need to then connect with me after you've gotten to the train. Now that child, he don't want to lose that phone. So he is thinking about what I said. And sometimes you got to apply pressure. When you go to the gym and you're working out with a trainer, it's different than when you're working out by yourself. That trainer is going to apply a different level of pressure. They're going to do things that are intentional to build that muscle and to give you those cuts and the rips that you're looking to get. And that is what we are responsible for doing as parents. It is our responsibility to make sure that we pour into, that we develop, that we stretch, that we cultivate the next generation of leaders that are going to, one, have to take care of us. You think about what it is that you are imparting into your children. My sister said to me the other day, she's been spending quite a bit of time with me and my kids, and she said to me the other day, she said, "You have done a phenomenal job." She said, "Your kids are so respectable. When they approach me, it's auntie this and auntie that, you know, do you need anything? How can I do this?" Or even if they want to do something that's kind of in a space that she's in right now, she said they ask her, you know, "Is it okay for me to do this?" And in the end, yeah, I had the same problems that anybody else have. I went to the grocery store this morning, and today is Wednesday, and by Friday, most of that stuff is probably going to be gone. But I can't complain at all, because they are such good children. But that comes as a result of the training that I have put in them. I was very intentional with that. And so I will say to you that if you are trying to be friends with your child, remember that you are responsible for assuring that they can make sound decisions and that they are able to be vital parts of our community. So if you enjoyed this video, or if you know somebody that could use it, I ask that you click like. I ask that you share it with a friend, and I'm going to ask that you subscribe. And if you don't do anything else, leave me a comment and let me know how you feel about it. Or you are welcome to send me an email at the email address that will be in the description. And that's Marigny. No, that's not. It's meditations with an S with Marigny at gmail.com. Have a great day, guys.